clean models, hidden costs. A weekly review meeting ends with everyone nodding at the same dashboard, and yet the next week is spent on escalations, rework, and surprise approvals that weren't in the numbers. The pain is not ignorance. It is a clean summary that makes the rough parts disappear. When a model becomes too clean to argue with, it stops describing the system and starts governing it. It rewards what is easy to count, penalizes what is hard to explain, and makes edge cases and their costs functionally invisible until they break through as emergencies. Models exist because of a constraint: limited time, limited attention, limited bandwidth to interpret raw reality. A dashboard compresses 1,000 events into a few lines so decisions can happen on schedule. That compression is not neutral, it is a selection. The core trade-off is legibility versus fidelity. Legibility means shared reference. Two people can point to the same metric and reach agreement quickly. Fidelity means the measure stays close to the messy shape of what actually happens. Clean models optimize for agreement. They remove ambiguity, reduce variance, and smooth out outliers. But outliers are often where the system's true risk lives. Consider a generic service operation measured by average resolution time. The incentive is immediate. Teams are rewarded for lowering the average, managers are rewarded for a stable chart, and escalations are treated as noise. A feedback loop forms. Work gets triaged toward cases that close quickly. Complicated cases are deferred, reclassified, or routed elsewhere. The dashboard improves. The backlog of hard cases thickens at the edges. This is not deception. It is adaptation to measurement. If compensation, status, or approvals depend on the metric becomes the target. What does not fit becomes non-standard, and what is non-standard becomes someone else's problem. Tail risk migrates into categories like exceptions, manual review, one-off, and later. These labels are a kind of accounting boundary. They preserve a clean number by exporting complexity. The system then appears calm, right up to the moment it is not. Edge cases compound quietly because they are not represented in the central model. When they finally surface, they do so as bursts: urgent meetings, emergency change requests, brittle patches, new checklists. The clean model did not remove the risk, it displaced it. A model that is too clean to argue with often has another property: it is difficult to interrogate. The categories are fixed, the formulas are locked, the narrative is pre-approved. Disagreement is treated as misunderstanding rather than signal. That is a failure mode, a measurement that blocks correction by making critique illegible. What becomes invisible is not only the tail of the distribution. When a chart is taken as the real, people orient their attention toward what the chart recognizes. Attention is the scarce resource that measurement allocates. In that allocation, values are encoded. If only speed is legible, care becomes an exception. If only throughput is legible, safety becomes a delay. If only compliance is legible, understanding becomes optional. The human cost arrives as a second-order effect, the work that preserves meaning, listening, context, stewardship, refusal to simplify too early, moves off the books. A clean model can also create moral distance. When decisions are mediated by scores, labels, and thresholds, it becomes easier to say, the number decided, rather than, we decided to treat some cases as negligible. This is not a personal flaw. It is a structural incentive. The model offers a proxy for judgment, and the proxy, once institutionalized, competes with judgment for authority. The risk, then, is not merely operational surprise. It is a shrinking of what a group is able to notice together. A community that cannot name its exceptions loses contact with its own reality, because reality arrives first through exceptions. Consider a single model or dashboard that regularly settles arguments in a meeting. Notice what questions it makes easy, and what questions it makes socially difficult. Examine the edge, the tickets marked other, the manual reviews, the escalations, the special handling, the footnotes. Name what these categories protect the central metric from seeing. Name the costs that appear only there: time, risk, dignity, safety, trust. And consider, without rushing to fix anything, what incentive the model creates for the people closest to the work. When the number improves, what kind of reality is being selected for, and what kind is being exported? A clean model buys agreement by spending detail, and the bill arrives where the chart does not look.